We're going to walk through the process of coloring this really pretty sunset with alcohol markers, and it requires no blending at all. I used four main colors for this sunset: a yellow, orange, light pink, and dark pink. And then towards the end, I do bring in some purples for the very edges of the sunset. These are with Ohuhu alcohol markers, but you could certainly use any brand that you have. If you like this color combination, just try to find colors that are similar. The four main colors that I use here: for the yellow, I used Y3; for the orange, YR070; for the light pink, RV280; for the darker pink, R120; and then for the purples, I use V020, V030, and then a little bit of P3 right by the edges there. And this is I have the Ohuhu 120 pack and the Sweetness Pastel set. They're linked in the description. And so for this coloring page, you'll see that I actually moved where the sun is. So I wanted to have like a sunset look to this page. So instead of having the sun in the middle of the sky there, which you could certainly leave, I decided to redraw it down at the bottom by the mountains. And at the end of this, I will cover up that original sun with a cloud. So to do this technique to create this sunset, you are basically just using sketchy little motions in an arc. And you're going to start with your yellow color closest to the sun and fill in an arc with little tiny sketches going back and forth around the arc. And you can make this section as large or as small as you want. But then you're going to start pulling in the orange. And the key to this technique is you want to overlap your sections. So you'll want to do the same process with the orange. Keep it sketchy, go in an arc, go back and forth over the section. You're not actually blending anything, you're just doing tiny little sketch marks, kind of keeping it in an arc, but you're going to overlap the yellow as well. And then you're going to want to kind of bounce back between your colors. So I brought the yellow back in and overlapped it more with the orange until you kind of get this natural transition effect. So you do want to overlap your colors. Then I come in with the light pink and start a new arc where I'm overlapping the orange a little bit and then stretching that arc out on its own. Then I'll go back with the orange and overlap the pink. And this is basically the process you follow for the whole thing. Overlapping colors, add in a new color to create a new arc, and then overlap some more. So I'll take that pink, and once I finish its main arc, I'll overlap some of the orange into it, and then I'll start a new arc with the dark pink, overlapping the lighter pink, and then finishing out its own arc. So you'll see me go back in, kind of bouncing between these colors, and I'm taking each color up a little bit and blending it a little bit into each section. So I'll take that yellow, blend it up through the oranges, take that orange, blend it up through the pinks, take that pink, blend it back down through the orange, and you kind of just go back and forth. And you can keep going back and forth until you have the look that you want. If you want a smoother, less sketchy look, keep going. Just do it for a lot longer. But if you like the sketchy look, then you don't have to overlap as much or do it as long. And this sketchy technique is super helpful in a really large coloring section like this, because these sections that are so large are very hard to blend. It's hard to get a smooth blend without your ink drying too fast and kind of ruining the blend. So it's very difficult to blend such a large section like an entire sky. But using this kind of sketchy method makes it look like it's blended, but you're not actually fighting the markers trying to get them to blend. It's all a lot easier. You keep going in with these sketchy motions, and the blend kind of takes care of itself. Then I also come in towards the edges with some purple, which will start kind of working it into a night sky color. So I take that light purple, which is VO20, put it into the corners and blend it into our pink a little bit using that sketchy motion. And then I take a slightly darker purple and layer some of that in as well. And I'm overlapping that purple into the pink a little bit, and then taking that pink again and overlapping it into the purple. And if you don't like how any of the sections are looking, you can go back in with your markers and just keep that sketchy motion going in an arc and add some more to it. So here I go back in with my yellow and my orange because I wanted that a little bit more defined. And I start working that section again. And then I bring in a little bit more of that pink, make sure it's sketched into the orange, and work that section out again. Then I'll come over here to the left side and start adding in some purple. Since this purple area is so large, I do just add some flat coloring into it. You can keep it as sketchy as you want, or you can just kind of add some flat color, and then I come back in with my pink and add sketches on top of the purple, little dash motions. And then I take a slightly darker purple and do the same thing. I'm just working out to darker and darker colors away from the sun. So it's not a quick process. It does take a long time to layer all these colors together. But it's kind of chill, it's kind of meditative, and it produces a really pretty sunset effect that is a lot easier than a straight blend of all these colors. And you end up using a lot less ink because you're just doing these little sketchy motions instead of laying down a ton of ink to try to get everything to blend together. When you're blending such a large section, you would just keep adding ink to the area to get everything to blend together, keep everything wet so it'll mesh and blend. But doing this process, you don't need everything to stay wet and you don't need to layer on so much ink. So it's a really nice way to save some ink, save your markers a little bit, but get a really pretty sunset effect that ends up being so much easier to do than an actual blend. At the end here, you'll see me add some clouds in, which is a really fun way to kind of liven up your page a little bit. You can take a white acrylic pen and add some big white fluffy clouds. So on this page, I just covered over where all the clouds were with the sunset because I knew at the end I was going to cover it with acrylic marker. I was going to take a white paint pen and make my own clouds. So I took a pencil and sketched out some bigger, fluffier clouds, and I made sure to cover all the black lines that were there from the old clouds and to cover the sun. And then I just took a white paint pen and filled everything in. Here I kind of bounce around trying to figure out which white paint pen would work best. And I ended up settling on the Shuttle Art brush acrylic pens. They're a bit larger and thicker than some of my other finer point acrylic markers, so they worked really well for like a cloud to just kind of use a brush pen and put down a lot of that paint. And there you have it, a really pretty sunset that is much easier than it seems. And you are just using sketchy motions in an arc instead of doing a more complicated blend to get this effect. And it has a really pretty result and is pretty easy to do. All right, let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this technique, and I will see you next time.